Now, what about responsibility? Calling
Yeah.
as responsibility.
Yeah, you're kind of you're even tapping into it a little bit there because there is this sense that, if our calling is not just a gift, but it then also is a responsibility, and it means that that God trusts you. Um, and we talk a lot about trusting God for good reasons, right? But it also means that there's something being entrusted to us, and we have a responsibility, for that, and it's our unique part to play in God's story, and it's a unique role we have in His mission. And you were kind of naming it there a little bit, Steve. Is I think I go to like John 15. Jesus says, "I no longer call you servants; I call you friends." Right, and he says in that it's because he's inviting us in essence to what he's up to, but he's actually entrusting something to us,
Mhm.
and what he's doing and what he's up to as well. And so in that it's I think about this, um the my role as a parent, for instance, um is a responsibility, which means it has several things that are part of that. I mean, it's a combination of both delight and duty, right? It's whole.
Yeah.
There's holy pride in being a dad, and there's pain, in it. There's
Yeah.
significance to it, and there's like extraordinary amount of sacrifice.
Yeah.
And I think that's true about our callings as well. Is that when we think about it being a responsibility, is that there's both this delight in it and duty in it. Like there's something that we're carrying that we have in some ways, a graceful obligation, a grace-filled obligation to then say, all right, how do we play our part?
Yeah, this again goes back to the disciple making pathway, and it's really this move from disciple to leader as part of that. And one of the things we talk about that the primary question in discipleship is, can I trust God? And I grow as a disciple every time that I hear God's voice and trust God's heart enough to act on what He's told me to do. So that's the
Mm.
whole battleground. I mean, our friends at Soma talk about discipleship as the movement from unbelief to belief in every area of life. And that hinge kind of question is, can I trust God? And that's, so much of what we continue to battle with as disciples of Jesus. But when we get into leadership, the question changes from can I trust God to can God trust me? And, how now am I living my life out in a way that lives up to the trust that God puts in me? And this is important because what this reminds us of is God is in a trusting posture toward his people.
Mhm.
Like we don't have to like earn something. Like he
Right.
he initiates trust, but the responsibility piece of it is living up to the trust that he's put inside of us. And we should feel the weight of that in a healthy way, that the creator of the universe, has trusted us and trusted us in some pretty significant ways. And that is a standard to live up to. It calls the best out of us, and it calls us from deteriorating into the worst of ourselves.